He said it was not his hand, not his will, not even his voice. On a cold February afternoon in 1981, a man lay dying in a quiet Connecticut yard. The killer did not run. He stood there, breathing hard as if waking from a dream. Later, in a courtroom heavy with fluorescent light, his lawyers offered something unprecedented. The devil made him do it, and for a moment the law had to listen.
Subscribe.
Brookfield, Connecticut was not built for spectacle. It was a town of trimmed hedges and low churches, of modest houses with narrow hallways and crucifixes above the doors. Arne Cheyenne Johnson was 19, compact, quiet, known more for his temper than for trouble. He worked odd jobs. He loved Debbie Glatzel, a girl with careful eyes and nervous hands. In the summer of 1980, Debbie's younger brother, 11-year-old David Glatzel, began to change. He said an old man watched him, not from the street, from inside the house. David described a figure with burned skin and black eyes, a man who spoke in Latin and hissed promises of harm. At first, the family thought it was imagination, a child's fear stretching into shadow, but the episodes grew violent. David convulsed. He growled in voices that did not resemble his own. Furniture moved, scratches appeared across his small body. The Glatzels called a priest. Father Michael Clark visited the house. He listened, he prayed, and he observed. The church authorized a series of minor exorcisms. Over weeks, prayers were spoken in tight circles of candlelight. Holy water struck the air like rain. Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived soon later. They were already known in certain circles. Investigators of hauntings, students of the unseen. They recorded interviews, they photographed the house. They listened to David's fragmented accounts. The Warrens would later say the boy was possessed. Not oppressed, not troubled, possessed. And in that living room, Arne Johnson made a decision. If something tormented David, it should face him instead. He called the entity directly. "Leave him," he said. "Take me." It was a moment spoken in anger, or loyalty, or something neither of them understood. After that night, David improved. His seizures lessened, the shadows retreated from his speech, but Arne began to drift. Debbie noticed first. He stared at nothing for long stretches. His mood sharpened without warning. He claimed to see the old man too, near trees reflected in windows. In early 1981, Arne and Debbie moved into an apartment above a kennel owned by Alan Bono. Bono was 40 years old, their landlord and Debbie's employer. He was loud, broad-shouldered, quick to drink, not known for subtlety. On February 16, 1981, they gathered for lunch. There was wine and there was tension. Accounts differ in detail, but not in outcome. An argument broke out between Bono and Arne. Words rose, chairs scraped. At some point, Debbie's 9-year-old cousin became involved in the dispute. Witnesses said Bono grabbed the child. Arne intervened. Outside in the yard, the argument sharpened, and then it broke. Arne pulled a 5-inch pocket knife. He stabbed Alan Bono multiple times in the chest and abdomen. The wounds were deep, precise, and fatal. Bono staggered into the grass. He died before the ambulance arrived. Arne did not flee far. Police found him hours later. He seemed confused, detached, as if the air around him had thinned. He told them he remembered little, only a fog, a presence, something that was not him. The state charged him with first-degree murder. It was a clean case, witnesses, weapon, motive. But Arne's defense team took an unprecedented path. They intended to argue demonic possession, not metaphorically, literally. Martin Minella, Arne's attorney, announced the strategy publicly. The press descended. Headlines bloomed in disbelief. The devil made me do it. Ed and Lorraine Warren stood firm. They claimed Arne had been possessed by the same entity that afflicted David. They described growling voices, superhuman strength, levitations. They said they had warned authorities. Psychiatrists evaluated Arne. They found no evidence of psychosis, no dissociative break. He was described as intelligent, aware, capable of distinguishing right from wrong. Judge Robert Callahan faced an unusual request. Could a defense based on demonic possession be admitted in a court of law? The judge ruled swiftly. No, there was no legal precedent for possession or exculpation. The court recognized insanity. It recognized diminished capacity. It did not recognize the devil. The defense shifted strategy. They pursued self-defense. They emphasized Bono's intoxication, his aggression, the protection of a child. In November 1981, after 15 hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Guilty of first-degree manslaughter, not murder. Arne Cheyenne Johnson was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison. He would serve just under 5. Paroled in 1986, he later married Debbie. They remained together for decades. So what happened inside that house in 1980? Several explanations stand side by side. One is faith. The Glatzels and the Warrens maintained that a demonic entity attached itself to David, that Arne invited it, that the violence in Brookfield was spiritual warfare made visible. Another is psychology. Skeptics argue David's symptoms resemble childhood trauma responses. Night terrors, stress-induced dissociation. The Glatzel family faced financial strain, religious intensity, public scrutiny. Under such pressure, belief can become architecture. As for Arne, some experts suggest suggestibility. He was young, embedded in a narrative of possession. If a man is told long enough that something lives inside him, he may begin to feel it move. A third explanation is simpler. Alcohol, anger, escalation. Alan Bono had been drinking heavily that day. Witnesses confirmed he became aggressive. The confrontation turned physical. A knife ended it. No spirits required. In 2021, the case resurfaced through film. The story was dramatized, polished for cinema. But the court record remains unadorned. A stabbing, a rejected defense, a conviction. Nothing supernatural entered the official transcript. The law is built on responsibility, on the idea that a person chooses, that between impulse and action there is a moment of control. The possession defense forced a question into that structure. What if a man truly believes he is not alone inside himself? Is belief a shield or merely another form of surrender? Arne Cheyenne Johnson walked free after 5 years. He built a life, quiet, unremarkable. Alan Bono did not. His grave does not mention demons, only dates. In a Connecticut courtroom in 1981, the devil was denied legal standing. But the idea lingered. If a man says the darkness was not his own, how certain must we be before we disagree? And if something violent ever rose within you, would you call it yours?
Like and subscribe.